priming the eyes. I want to take this off. Okay, let's get started. I don't have that either. Hashtag not ready yet. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to today's video where I'm doing this eyeshadow look with these two eyeshadow palettes. I really wanted to combine these two formulas. I've never done so before. And here's a look I came up with. I think it's lovely, very neutral, soft, feminine. I'm enjoying it. If you want to see what I did and how I did it, then don't go anywhere. And if you're new here, hey, my name is Rachel. I'm a homeschooling stay-at-home mom. I enjoy lots of things, but this channel is all about eyeshadow, and I upload several videos every week. All right, let's start by priming the eyes. This is the Glamlight Icing Primer in the shade Buttercream. I am going to link everything that I'm using down below in the description box as usual. And if you want to know any information, find playlists or suggestions or anything else, I do my best to include all that information down there. So check it out if you're curious. Alrighty, there are two palettes that I want to use today. I want to use Nouveau from ABH, and I want to pair it with the Strawberry Fields palette from Jaclyn Cosmetics. I think I heard that Jaclyn Cosmetics is no more. I don't really care. I have the palette. I like the undertones of this palette. That's the only reason that keeps it around in my collection, because the quality is just okay, but the undertones look really good with my skin tone. So that is what keeps it alive for the time being in my collection. And I really like the Nouveau palette from Anastasia Beverly Hills. I think this is such an interesting, definitely neutral, but then it has just a bit of flair, you know, and I think it's lovely. I like the quality. It's good. I enjoy playing with this color story, and I thought it would be fun to pair these two together. Also, I do have a palette pull-in project. It's carded above if you don't know what I mean. I'm working through Tropicolor from Sydney Grace. My next shade is this one. It's not going to happen today. I don't want to incorporate this in today's look at all. I think I could, because I don't have a firm plan, but it doesn't work at all with my shirt, and I just don't want to. I just don't want to. So I'm disregarding my palette pull-in for today, and I want to get going with this eye look. I'm excited to play with eyeshadow. The way that I'm choosing my colors for this look was first to select the shimmers that I wanted to play with. So I want to play with this shimmer called Sugar Coated and this one here called Lily. And then for the mattes, I think I want to keep it a little bit warmer, a little bit more orangey harvest leaning instead of berry, because the orangey harvest will work with my outfit for today. So I'm thinking Cobbler up here, and I will probably pair it with, oh, let's say Fleur right here, because Paloma basically is my skin tone. So that's the plan. I'm just going to do the standard style that I do all the time. Let's zoom in and get going. Picking up Fleur first with this medium blending brush, and I'm going to put this in my inner corner area, or inner crease really, not the inner corner, the inner crease. I just want to lay it down very, very lightly. I'm so glad my eye infections seem to be resolved. All the myriad germs that have been sailing through our household seem to be settling. I got the flu symptoms again, like for another 2 days. I don't know. I'm so tired of all this sickness, and I really hope it's gone for good. Like, it is not welcome. We don't like this ride, and we want to get off. Now I'm going into Cobbler with a larger blending brush, and this palette doesn't have a mirror, so I don't mind if a palette doesn't have a mirror. I think I mind it a little bit more if a small palette doesn't have a mirror than if a larger palette doesn't have a mirror, because a large palette I'm not likely to hold up, but a small palette like this, you know, it ought to have a mirror. This one does, but the Jaclyn doesn't. Anyway, I wanted to tell you guys, if you saw my recent declutter video, I got rid of a handful of palettes, and I can card that video above for you if you're interested. I got rid of a handful of palettes, and then I went back, and before I listed them, I revisited my selections, and I actually added in a couple of more, but then I pulled one out of my declutter pile. The one that I pulled out was my Mimosa palette from BH Cosmetics. And the reason I pulled it out... Oh, I'm trying to dip back into the palette. It's the wrong one. I need the other palette. The reason I pulled out Mimosa was because I really don't have that many pinks. And now and then I want pink. It also has really beautiful shimmers. I like to pair pink with red, pink with orange, pink with purple, pink with yellow. So I like to use pinks with other colors. And I wanted to have those choices, you know. Also, the BH quality in that palette is so excellent. There's a nice matte white, which I love. And I just figured, you know, I had it listed before anyway, and it wasn't moving, so I figured, why not? I'll bring it back in. But I added 3 palettes to my declutter pile, which had survived the declutter, and then I changed my mind on them. These are looking good together. They're not hugely different in depth or value. I'm gonna deepen this outer corner a little bit with Metro. Will that make a difference? Metro is actually quite like Cobbler, I think. So that's okay. Metro is building better than Cobbler. One of the palettes that I added to my declutter was based on yesterday's video, the Dark Fantasy palette from Beauty Bay. Man, that look was terrible. I thought it was looking so well. I was excited about it. I was having a good time. I was liking the whole vibe. And then when I went to take my close-ups, they were dreadful. It was bad. I mean, it was patchy, it was smeary, it was grainy. There was this weird graininess on my brow bone area. The shadows were already separating, and I had primed my eyes the same way, and it was very bad. And honestly, that palette was kind of on shaky ground anyway, because it hadn't been exciting me for a while. The colors were not that unique. I liked it, but I wasn't loving it. And then when I had such a terrible result using it, I was like, no, it's time to go. So Dark Fantasy has been added to my declutter pile. I'm going to quickly just catch up the other side for once because this is going so quickly. I got I don't know if it was the flu, but it was flu-like symptoms. Just like when I first started this whole sickness 3 weeks ago. I had all those same symptoms again for about 36 hours. So I slept for 24 of them. And I mean, I was taking like 7-hour naps. Wake up, make sure everyone's still alive, take another nap. My oldest daughter was so awesome. She was super helpful, very mature. She basically did the work of both parents because I was down and my husband was away. And she was great. She was super responsible. She took care of her little sisters. She fed people. She cleaned people. She did awesome. And I am very grateful that I'm feeling well again. Hopefully everyone's healthy now until like the fall. Can we all just be healthy for a good chunk of the year now? Being healthy is one of those things that I think we take it for granted. And then when something's off in our bodies, we have a little fever or an infection, it's amazing how quickly you can feel off, just out of balance. And all of a sudden we realize that we were taking health for granted. I am grateful to be healthy again. I'm grateful that all of my people are healthy again, that my husband, for the most part, escaped unscathed. Deepening up with Metro here. And so the other two palettes that I added to my declutter pile. Sorry, I'm sort of hopping all over topics here. Gotta keep you guys sticking around. The other two palettes that I added to my declutter pile, I added in the Hummingbird palette from Uden's Eye. I did. I'm a little surprised too, but I really like that palette, and I really liked it when I first got it especially, but at this time, the colors in that palette, while they're beautiful, and they are in my favorite formula, they're not unique to my collection anymore. They're just not that different, and I have other palettes that have those kinds of colors, along with other colors, you know, that total out to be a bit of a more interesting color story or maybe a more usable color story. I do think the palette's so beautiful. I love the artwork and the packaging, and it's lovely. It's really lovely. And it surprised me a bit that I was ready to get rid of it, but I think I'd rather have the money that it brings in just sort of stored away in my Poshmark or Mercari app so that when another palette that really excites me becomes available, I can pick it up. You know, I have that option because I'm not dipping into personal finances for eyeshadow. So yeah, Hummingbird is for sale. It's going to go up in my Poshmark and Mercari. Actually, I think at the time of filming, it's already up. So I did already sell Flora Story from Uden's Eye, so that one's out. And then there's one more that I added into the declutter pile. All right, let's lay down the shimmer that I'm actually excited about. This is Lily from Nouveau. I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to spray it because I want to control the pigment. This is a lovely rosy metallic kind of color. This one shade reminds me of the Rose Metals palette that came out after Nouveau. The whole vibe of this shade reminds me of that entire palette, and I think it's beautiful. I don't want to in an entire palette because that alone is not varied enough, but this is a beautiful pairing for the Nouveau palette. So I'm placing Lily on most of my lid, like starting in the center, out to meet these mattes over here. I'm just going to leave the inner third or so clear, and I want to lay down the other shimmer there. This is smooth and creamy. It's quite nice. It's not a standard or traditional satin. It's not hyper sparkly, but it has kind of a more elegant or refined feel to it. It reminds me more of Sydney Grace in the finish. And it's actually kind of an interesting shade because in the pan it looks more, like I said, metallic rosy gold, but then if you pair it with these lighter orangey tones, it definitely pulls more yellow orange. It's interesting. Picking up now the sugar-coated shade on the same flat brush, and I will spray it. So the third palette that I added to my declutter pile was the Through My Eyes from ColourPop. I've had that one for quite some time. I bought it used. It was a couple years old when I got it, and it still performed quite nicely. I think that even though it was a couple of years old, it performed better than some of my newest ColourPop palettes. I don't know. I think the color story of Through My Eyes is really interesting, and I have said so from the get-go, that it's just a dusty rose, teal, copper, bronzy sort of color story. I haven't seen that elsewhere, and it's really interesting. But at this point, I no longer really use the palette. It's pretty. It still performs well. I've never had any problems with it. It's just not exciting to me anymore, and it's not getting used. So I would rather pass it on to somebody who wants it. Maybe somebody who likes discontinued palettes or wants that specific palette, or liked I Love Sarai and wants to collect the things that she collabed with, because I think she had a couple collabs with ColourPop. This is pretty. Anyway, so Through My Eyes is now in the declutter pile as well. And that's where we stand. You know, I just discovered this, I just noticed this Liberty shade right here. This would look nice with my shirt. I'm going to put it on the lower lash line. So with a smaller and pinched blending brush, I'll start it in the outer corner because it is kind of a deeper tone. Put it way out here. It's kind of a khaki green. So I think I'll put it on the outer half or so. And then I will just continue that Strawberry Fields shimmer into that area. You know, the shimmer is not actually that bad. It's not exciting. Really, it's not exciting. But it's not terrible either. So leave that here, maybe. I'll just leave it here. Now with that Strawberry Fields shimmer, I'm going to drag it along the inner half of the lower lash line. It is a nice highlight corner, inner corner highlight. A nice inner corner highlight as well. It's pretty. And since I'm playing in this area, I do realize that this eye is not totally healed. That one's still a little bit unhappy. And whatever's on my brush, I think I'll put right under my brow bone, if there's even anything on my brush. And that's it. That's pretty. I'm gonna go off camera and finish everything up. I'll be right back. All right, guys, this is everything. To finish off, I didn't put anything in my waterline because, again, apparently I still have a little irritation over here, so I'll just let that go for a while, continue healing. I did put on mascara, and that's it for the eyes. On my lips, I'm wearing this glowing lip from ColourPop. This is the color Mid-Century, and then I topped it with their lip oil. The shade is Hot Spark. This is orange. I just love their lip oils overall, honestly. They're just so nice. Then on my face, I have a bit of bronzer from Physicians Formula and this ColourPop Super Shock Cheek in the shade No Vacancy. Again, everything that I'm using is linked down below in the description box. I think this eye look is really beautiful. I mean, I know I say that a lot. I think my skill level is to a point where I can almost always achieve an eye look with which I'm satisfied, and I'm really excited about reaching that point. I mean, it took 2 to 3 solid years of practice, honestly. It really did. But now I know my style, I know my preferences, I know my preferred technique, I know what I like, I know what I don't like, I know the brands I like, I know the brands I stay away from. I'm just in a good spot right now, and it's a very exciting thing. So if there is anything in which you are interested, something that you want to do better at, some area or hobby where you want to improve and grow, I really recommend you practice. Practice, because it's so satisfying to finally get to that point where you're happy with your progress. You see progress in your work. You see consistent improvement over time. I'm experiencing the same thing with my watercolor painting. I started doing a little class on Skillshare, and in a week, maybe a week and a half of just daily practicing, my little paintings have gotten so much better. They're not earth-shattering, but they're so much better. It's wonderful. And honestly, I love the process. I love the practice. I love the task. It is what gives our life color. So if you want to get better at eyeshadow, practice. If you want to get better at watercolor painting, practice. If you want to get better at language, instrument, knitting, anything at all, just practice. It's totally worth it. Thank you so much for being here today. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Do let me know in the comments what you think. I always enjoy hearing your feedback. I enjoy talking to you guys always. If you have never considered subscribing, I hope you'll do so before you go. I upload videos like this on average about 4 a week, and I hope to see you in my next one. Bye. This is the shade Buttercream, and I have linked. Why are you laughing? It wasn't funny. Okay.